the area, so I had no internet. So for about right up till 2 o'clock yesterday. So sadly couldn't do the podcast yesterday morning. And this morning I'm just running late. So it hasn't been a good couple of hours. Hold on, I'll get my light on. Oh, my God. Hasn't been a good couple of days, not a good couple of hours. So that's how my week's going. So welcome to the BNBA Daily Podcast with me and my sidekick here, the Nutty JJ, who's in an annoying mood yet again. He was very good on Tuesday. He was a nut on Monday, and he started being a nut today. So I don't know what JJ we're going to get. So we'll see how we go with that one. And so been an interesting week. Australia, I'll get into that in a minute. I've been starting with my rants. Let's start with our look at our weather across Port Phillip Bay, as we always do. And there is the Melbourne weather. It's a bit overcast, not raining, no wind, pretty similar to what we've had the last couple of days. Birds flying, and that's it. Pretty dull, grim sort of day, but no rain. If we're going to have days like this, I'd rather us actually have some rain and have something worthwhile. I know I'm starting to sound like a farmer at the moment, not usually me, but we do need rain. We're getting close to the summer months now. We're nearly at the halfway point of August. Not nearly, we are at the halfway point of August. Sorry, just reconnecting everything. And we haven't had an awful lot of rain. I know in the regions they got a fair bit. Adelaide got a fair bit, but we need more than that. So we'll see how it goes. Let's hope we have a very wet September. My team's not in the, I don't care. Let's have a wet September and a decent summer. Let's hope that's the way it goes. All right, Bible read. We've got two because I wasn't here yesterday. So we're up to the 12th of August, still in the Old Testament. God's knowledge and care. Now, there's things that have happened this week. Anyway, Psalm 139, 13 through 24. The psalmist expressed his worship to God as his creator. This enables him confidently to trust God as his guide through life. You created every part of me. You put me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because you are to be feared. All you do is strange and wonderful. I know it with all my heart. When my bones were being formed, carefully put together in my mother's womb. When I was growing there in secret, you knew that I was there. You saw me before I was born. The days allotted to me had all been recorded in your book before any of them even began. Oh God, how difficult I find your thoughts, how many of them there are. If I counted them, they would be more than the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you. Oh God, how I wish you would kill the wicked. Oh, how I wish violent man would leave me alone. They say wicked things about you. They speak evil things against your name. O Lord, how I hate those who hate you. How I despise those who rebel against you. I hate them with the total hatred. I regard them as my enemies. Examine me, O God, and know my mind. Test me and discover my thoughts. Find out if there is any evil in me and guide me in the everlasting way. Oh, that was pretty strong. Not quite the New Testament style, was it? The first half of that, though, very appropriate to one of the subjects we're going to talk about knowing you saw me before I was born. When I was growing there in secret, you knew that I was there in my mother's womb. Very appropriate into what we're about to say. And one person in particular from overseas, yes, overseas, we're going to talk about because the same crap has happened here. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. Psalm 1, back in the Psalms again, 145, 1 through 14, a hymn of praise. One way to capture some of the psalmist's excitement about knowing God is to meditate on the many facets of God's character seen in this psalm. I will proclaim your greatness, my God and King. I will thank you forever and ever. Every day I will thank you. I will praise you forever and ever. The Lord is great and is to be highly praised. His greatness is beyond understanding. What you have done will be praised from one generation to the next. They will proclaim your mighty acts. They will speak of your glory and majesty, and I will meditate on your wonderful deeds. People will speak of your mighty deeds, and I will proclaim your greatness. They will tell about all your goodness and sing about your kindness. The Lord is loving and merciful, slow to become angry, and full of constant love. He is good to everyone and has compassion on all he made. All your creatures, Lord, will praise you, and your people will give you thanks. They will speak of the glory to your royal power and tell of all your might, so that everyone will know your mighty deeds and the glorious majesty of your kingdom. Your rule is eternal, and you are king forever. The Lord is faithful to his promises, and is merciless in his acts. He helps those who are in trouble. He lifts those who have fallen. Now, it's interesting, if you're just an atheist or a person who didn't have much interest in faith or whatever, you think, oh, what a load of bollocks. But actually, if you read that properly, most of what it says there is pretty true. Not most of it, all of it. See, yeah, God is recognized right through the centuries for all that was written in there. If you think about God and Jesus, they're spoken about across the globe every day, every single day. People go to church, they praise them, they acknowledge them, they give, what's the word? They give their loyalty to their God, their King, and they recognize the impact he has on their lives. That goes on every single day. I mean, everyone thinks you just go to church on Sunday. A lot of people don't realize masses are actually held every day. If you wanted to, my mum did. You can go to mass every day. If I was a better Christian, I probably would. But you can do that. You don't necessarily need to just go once a week. I'm a poor Christian because I struggle to go the once a week even. So I get there. I hate saying this. I get there when I can, which is terrible, really. And for one of the sins that I hope God forgives me for. And the silly thing is I actually enjoy going to mass. Oh God, I'm going to go to hell for saying this. It's just when it's a bit inconvenient, I've got other things on, I do the other things. Oh. Imagine me dying going to heaven. Jesus asked, why don't you go to mass for? Well, it was a bit inconvenient. Hey, I sat on the cross for you bastards, so and what he went through on that cross. And I'm saying, it's a little inconvenient. Oh my God. That sounds, when I actually say that out loud, it sounds quite arrogant of me. So, and ungrateful, and they talk about the sacrifice and his love, God's love for all of us down here. Well, God sacrificed his son in the most merciless way on the cross to give us all the opportunity to save ourselves. Like me, do we sometimes not grab that? I think that's definitely a case. So hopefully you can see by me reading these passages and talking to you about God and faith and Christ, hopefully that can help me out. We'll see. Tell you who's not getting helped out is Elbow. Oh, my God. All the issues we've got going on in this country and our political machinery, whether it's left or right, is caught up in this silly Mellons argument about the Japanese Prime Minister. And why are we caught up in this Mellons argument? If you don't know what I'm talking about, get on the internet and do a search. Why are we caught up in this Mellons argument? Because Elbow won't concede that he's wrong. So now Australia, not Japan, Australia is preoccupied with comments that Elbow made on a podcast, which he should never go on. He's not funny. He tries to be funny. He's not. And the problem with Elbow is he thinks he's all things to all people. He's a narcissist. He thinks he's hitting a bit. And him becoming Prime Minister, which I grant was from me, so I'm just trying to get my do not disturb button on while I'm talking. I would never have picked Elbow to be a Prime Minister. I've never seen somebody so undeserving of that office win it. That includes people like Kevin Rudd and even Malcolm Turnbull. I could make probably better arguments, but Elbow is one of the most undeserving people to walk, not just to walk into the Prime Minister's office, but any minister's office. The guy's an imbecile. And he's a socialist who just wants to tear down this country, divide it. And if he walks out with a massive pension and this country's in all sorts of trouble, Elbow won't bat an eyelid. Everyone going around Elbow's this, Elbow's that. He just shouldn't go on podcasts. And he'll say stupid things. And I'm surprised his media people, because If you're Prime Minister, you got a bunch of advisors, media people, all that. I'm surprised they agreed to it. Surely they must know it's not his best forum. Granted, there's probably not many good forums for Albo. Now, that doesn't say a lot for the LNP, considering he smashed him twice. But that's the state of the world we live in. So we got the LNP spending all question time in Parliament asking Albo to apologise, and we got Albo saying how he's great friends with Japan and he won't. And, in the meantime, we've got homeless in the streets, we've got national debt rising, cost of living going up, fuel prices going up, mass immigration changing the way we're living. We've got gangs running the streets with machetes and killing people. We've got cigarette shops being blown up and set on fire. You name it, we've got it. We've got those issues going on all over the country. And here we are caught up in an argument about melons and the Japanese Prime Minister. Can someone please make sense of that to me? I don't understand. Surely we've got more important things to be discussing. Unless even One Nation's got caught up in that. I mean, just hit Albo between the eyes with these broken lies. Another issue, we've got housing prices tumbling. We're heading potentially to a crisis, and Albo saying, oh, how great it is. Yeah, fantastic. The lead up to any recession, and a bad recession, is a slump in the property market. And we've got that. So, and Albo thinks there's no problem with that. Yeah, we want to make housing affordable for everyone, but we don't want to crash the market when no one can afford a house. Because no one, when you have a recession, and our younger kids don't understand this, when you have a recession, and thankfully I've never been through a depression, I've been through a recession, and again, thankfully, most times I've been employed throughout a recession. A lot of that time through my own grift, my own work. God, grift. So you've got to be careful with what you wish for. So if we have a crash in property prices and that leads to a recession, that's a lot of people out of work. That's a lot more homeless. That's a lot more inflation. That's not a nice place to be. And God help us if we ever get to the depression stage. We're putting in all the parameters to head there. The big national debt, inflation, low wages, businesses going out of business. You name it, we're putting in all the little factors that will lead to either a repression or a depression. And it could take 5 years to get out of it. The depression in the 30s took like 8-9 years in World War II to get out of that. So we don't want to go there. The misery that's going to cause. Life isn't for misery. And we all engage in it. Life is to, what was it Malcolm Fraser saying? Life wasn't meant to be easy. I disagree with that. Life has its challenges, its ups and downs, but overall, you can find joy and fun and love and all that in your life. I can look out my window here and see some beautiful scenery, some wildlife and birds. I can see my dog in the background. I can see some possums on the telegraph poles and wires. I can see creation going on and our wildlife and nature and all that going on. And I'm no greenie, but, you can look out and just be in awe of it and find, I can take Bozo out here for a WALK. I can't say that word. It'll ignite him. And I love it. Just taking him for a simple WALK. And he loves it. The joy he gets out of that gives me a lot of joy. So there's just simple things in life. A nice cup of coffee, speaking of which. Can give you a lot of enjoyment. So there's a lot of things to be happy about, to be grateful for. So I don't want life to be a misery. It doesn't have to be. And if you're getting fed in your timeline, and listen, I'm probably guilty of this a bit as well, that the world's coming to an end and Australia's a bad place and we're going down and go. Yeah, if we don't do something about it, we do. If we sit back and be quiet, yes, we'll lose what we've got. But if we stand up and say, and when I say stand up, by doing things like I'm doing here with the podcast, or talking to a young one who's going to attend today's marches against Pauline Hanson, which is just garbage. I'll have more to say on that tomorrow. I want to see the highlights first. Sit down with your kids and try and explain to it, not once, not twice. Sit down as many times as is needed. Most times when I was raising up, you had two things banned at a family gathering, politics and religion, because it always ended up in fights. Well, I have a different opinion. I think you should engage in those discussions and you should engage in those fights if necessary, because you have a moral obligation to try and bring the people over to the common sense side, the enlightened side, and get them. I'll give you an example what happens if you don't. And for 50 years, we've dodged those hard, difficult questions. For example, why we should be a Christian nation, why multiculturalism isn't a good thing. Good on Pauline Hanson for bringing that to the table. We need to engage in that. But that conversation will get manipulated by the mainstream media and other political parties, and even past politicians, as well as current ones. So we have to have those conversations. And we live in a time and an era that you can have those conversations through things like this. So I don't get huge views on it, but once I share it, I get considerable views. So even if I'm only getting one view and I'm affecting one person who can change the minds of another person, then that makes this podcast all the more worthwhile. I'm never going to be a Candace Owens or let's go more local or Harvey Yemeni, because I don't really want to go that way. I have my own life that I get a lot of enjoyment out of. I don't want to sacrifice that life to go all guns in on this one. So, yeah, you've got me with the El Cheapo studio, and it's not a green screen, as someone said before. I don't know how with a green screen. Where is he? Oh, he's down on the floor licking his proverbials. You put a dog in there, but anyway, there's no earphones, there's no mics, it's just me and my laptop. Anyone can do this. You don't need all the high tech. And if I get some money in from those who might buy me a coffee, maybe I'll upgrade. At some stage, I probably will. But it doesn't matter. You just got to get the message out there. You got to have the conversations. You got to have the debate. And we do that. Through the Eureka Conservative, we've got people coming on and just people of goodwill and faith, not major celebrities or politicians, people with an opinion who want to discuss things because they don't like the way the country is going. And they're probably open to get open discussion and try and get things rolling. So we, the everyday man of the street, yes, that's a saying, everyday man of the street. I'm not going to get into the everyday person of the street. Everyday man of the street. If you're a feminist who takes objection to that, maybe go and start arguing against men and women's sports, and then I'll believe you. Yeah, so the everyday man of the street has got more power than any politician. Don't forget, it is us that put them into their positions of privilege. And yes, they are privileged. Now, someone treat those positions with respect, others treat it with total disrespect. But they govern our society, they instigate the laws, and they do that at our behest. If we don't want them in there, we can kick them out. Sadly, too many people don't take enough notice of their politicians and allow them to get in. And the reason our country, if we're being brutally honest, the reason our country is facing the challenges it's facing is because we have too many people, too many of the everyday Aussies that don't pay enough attention to the politics, get sucked in by mainstream media, get sucked in by the inherited politics of their parents, and they vote for the idiots to go in our parliaments like Albo, and he becomes Prime Minister. Albo's an imbecile, but he's a cunning imbecile. He's taken advantage of everyday Aussie stupidity, and he's become Prime Minister. Now he'll retire on a massive pension for the rest of his life. He's set for life. Has he deserved it? No. What business has he started? What people is he employed? What's he done to make this country better? Every decision makes it worse. And yet he's going to retire on a $300,000 a year pension for life. Crazy. But we put him there. If you're in Labor heartland, you put him there. If you vote ALP just because your parents did, well, you put him there. If you voted ALP because you want socialism instead of capitalism, well, you put him there. If you're a greenie who thinks stopping us having coal energy is going to solve climate change, you put the idiot there. So sorry, you might not like hearing this. You're much as an imbecile, probably a worse imbecile than Albo. Albo's laughing in your face. Coffee. So that's where it goes. Talking of stupidity, At least I think it's stupidity. I'm going to cop probably a little bit of flack for this. But, I'm not here for the clicks. I'll just call it as I see it. I want One Nation to win, but if anyone's watched my podcast, for example, I've been pretty critical of One Nation. I will be again tomorrow morning. And that's because I want them to be their best so we can vote for them, so we can get this ALP government out. I fear we're heading towards a hung parliament and a volatile upper house in this next election. I don't see it going any other way. And if anybody out there thinks that's a good idea, a good outcome, I will lose all respect, just before I get onto this. If in November, which happened down in Flinders, so I'll give One Nation people a heads up, if in November we have the state election and we have a hung parliament or we have a minority ALP or LNP government, but we have an upper house that's volatile. So what I mean by that, we have a bunch of Greens, One Nation, all sharing the balance of power, and we can't get proper legislation through to address the myriad of problems we've got here in Victoria, that's a disaster. I would actually rather, believe it or not, I would rather Ben Carroll gets in because he's on the right. He's much more sensible already with some of the policy announcements you can see. He's recognising it. I'd rather see Ben Carroll get in with the majority in both houses than that situation to go through, because that would be better for this state. We would actually have some chance of making some minor recovery than if we had a hung parliament and a volatile upper house, which is what we're heading for. The best outcome would be an overwhelming majority win for either the LNP or One Nation. I don't see One Nation get there. Jess Wilson, the best she's got, the best she can hope for is, I think, a small majority win and upper house that will work with her. I don't think she'll win the majority, but she might have enough LNP senators plus enough One Nation senators to get some good legislation through. That's the best outcome we can get. But if I see on election night we have that hung parliament and we have that volatile upper house and we have people coming out celebrating how great they did when in fact they've really failed, they've failed the state, they've failed the voters, they've failed the people of Victoria, it'll make me want to throw up. Because they're not there for the best interest of the state. They're there for the best interests of themselves. They put party politics ahead of the interest of the state. That's wrong. You've got to get, if you're going into this business, you've got to go in to win it. So anyway, that's my beef there. So one thing we do need is good people in our parliaments, especially in the upper house, because you introduce legislation through there, but then it gets approved by the upper house. If you get rid of really good people out of the upper house, I don't see that's a good outcome. All right, so I've been watching with interest this whole group voting ticket, GVTs in Victoria. So Avi Yemeni and Monica Schmidt, who I discovered just the other night, is now based out of Queensland. Does beg the question, if you're in Queensland and you're now a Queensland voter, why are you sticking your nose into Victorian elections? I know she used to live in Victoria. She probably fled after being in prison or whatever, but that's all right. You've made your choice. You're a Queenslander now. Go lobby in the Queensland elections. Why are you sticking your nose into Victorian elections, Monica? Anyway. So Monica and Harvey got their heads together and they thought it'd be a great idea with these Free Palestine Party and the Greens Party and whatever else they came with. And their goal was to get rid of the group voting ticket. Now, I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but it can't be done in an ad hoc way. It's got to be done with a lot of thought. They should have recruited a number of people to see whether this was a good idea. There's a number of people both in and outside the parliament you could have spoke to, but no, they had to go straight down this thing, and Harvey's patting himself on the back, and now he's done, got rid of the group voting ticket, which it did. It got abolished the other night. But my concern in all of that, I had a number watching it. I watched much of their live stream that went for 5 hours. I was interested to see the attitudes of, once I found out Harvey, Monica and Rukshan were together, their attitudes towards it. And it was a bit of a narcissistic pat myself on the back, look how great I am sort of episode. And anybody that argued against the abolishment or in favour of other amendments was instantly discredited by Harvey, which was interesting. They didn't even get the chance out to explain their reasons for the amendments. And what was even more interesting, but the more I watched it, the more I realised how little knowledge Avi, Rukshan, and especially Monica had about parliamentary procedures or even the constitution of the state of Victoria. Now, when you're going to make a big change to the political process on the way we vote, you damn well better be pretty well informed, because the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And from what I can see, from what I'm listening to from the parliamentary debate, not from Avi, Rukshan and Monica, there's unintended consequences that could come out of this. And the worst of it, one of the people I respect most in our Victorian Parliament is fought for us, and I don't agree with all his politics. He's a libertarian, I'm a conservative. But he's been there fighting for the Victorian people for a decade now. He's one of the most and look, for example, he wants to legalise cannabis. I'm against that. We got into a bit of a back and forth on X one day about it. So I don't agree with everything he does, but he's a man of integrity. He's honest. I know that from personal experience. And he's a person I would hate to lose out of a parliament. I'm talking about David Limbrick. He's a good man, but this GTV has now made it harder for him and his fellow libertarians like Tim Quilty, another good man with a lot of integrity. The Victorian Libertarians, not the New South Wales, the Victorian Libertarians are full of good people. You've got Tim Quilty, David Limbrick, Jordan Ditloff, good people that we should be grateful to have representing us in Parliament. I fear now they've just made it a lot harder. So Avi's celebrating. They're actually in parts to think, oh, well, David's a good man, but bad luck, he's got to get his act together. Well, who gave you the right to decide that, Avi? Who gave you the right to be, the puppet master of who could make our get into Parliament and who should be our next government and who should be our next premier? That's not your right, Avi. And you're supposed to be a journalist who reports the news and doesn't take a biased approach to it. But here you are being a cheerleader on for a certain party, which I actually want to win in the election. But I want them to win the right way. Now, all I see is you've made it actually easier. And this was really a concern for me. You don't really understand it. And I get why people don't watch these processes in the upper house. It can go for ages, your whole nights on it. But if you're going to watch it, you get a much better understanding. So I've done this 2 or 3 times now in both federal and state, and you get much better understanding what it's about. Now, when you've got the ALP government embracing the removal of group voting tickets, I'm going, what's up here? I mean, the ALP wouldn't give up something that's been such a big advantage to them if they didn't think there was a better thing by changing it. And the purpose of amendments, which Avi and them were just going, oh, well, they're just arguing, they're trying to cover their own ass. Now, the purpose of amendments they're putting up is to try and make that legislation better. But the ALP knew they had the crossbenchers because they had the Greens in their pocket and all that. They knew they were going to win, and the LNP were going to go with it because group voting tickets favours the LNP. It disadvantages those on the crossbench. And, yes, we've had a bunch of idiots on the crossbench. There's easier ways to fix that than scrapping this whole thing. Now your group voting tickets removed, that's going to favour the major parties. The major parties now by the polls are One Nation, ALP, LNP. We'll see where that leads to. But a lot of the people that kept them in check and made sound arguments in Parliament and could actually get to the heartstrings of ALP members or LNP members to potentially make them debate in their own party rooms, their own against some of their own legislation or to modify it or dilute it, they're now going to be gone. It's going to be very difficult for them to get in Parliament. Now, when you lose that sort of integrity out of your Parliament doesn't get better, it gets worse. So Avi's out there and he's now publishing all these videos telling everybody how great he is. I'm not so sure this is great. And now he's got his mate Topher Field and he's going to be Tricia. So you got the same 4 that were behind the Marbles videos that encourage everyone to put the major parties last in the last 2 federal elections, which in my opinion played a big part in getting Albo voted in with a massive majority despite not getting a great first party vote. Historically, the first party vote that he got might not have even got him into Parliament years ago, but now got him 94 seats. And that is because so many on the centre right put the Liberals and ALP last, but so many on the left put the ALP first and the Greens second. That's how they got so many things. That was a brainstorm of Topher. Topher was wrong. Now, Topher can never admit he was wrong because that would hurt the ego, but Topher was wrong. Now, I've given Topher credit on policy. I think Topher's mind on policy is brilliant. There's some of the stuff there I roar in agreement. I love listening to some of his conversations about policy, about what affects us. I don't like his strategic mind in politics. I don't think it's sound. I got no doubt his heart's in the right place. I've got no doubt that even Harvey and their heart was in the right place here. But unless you are a political strategist who's got the conniving, gutter political mind of those in the major parties, you're out of your depth. My dog's going nuts. Can you hear him coming up and down those steps? Here he is. What do you want? What do you want? Yeah, he wants to go. I'll be back. I'll try and retain where I'm up to. Clever, don't you? Oh, there we go. Sorry, guys. Toilet time for the dog. I've got to be a bit careful. I've got one neighbour who's a bit feisty about his barking at the moment, so I've got to let him out and then try and bring him back in. No, this time of day should be good. But anyway, I didn't want to have to be up and down for the rest of the podcast, so I waited till he had his break and then came back up. So, yeah, so you've got to understand the political strategy and all the ins and outs of all this. And in engaging in this sort of combat, you can't do something that makes our vote less or impacts our parliament in a negative way or potentially even our constitution. Now, the other part is you've got to have a bit of conviction about this. You know, you've got to have a strong political spine. Got to have, like, when you engage in this, you've got to know what you're doing. You've got to have some conviction about it, and you're not going to take a step back. Now, I'll give Harvey credit on that. I think most things he has some conviction for. But then he has Monica in his ear. He's been working with Monica right through this whole process, Monica Schmidt. And anything I say, if I'm wrong, Monica and Harvey are more than welcome to come on the podcast and discuss it with me. But I know on this next one, I'm not wrong. So everyone is aware of the March for Australia with Beck Freedom. And I've had Beck not on the podcast, but she's asked me questions via the chat on the podcast through Ben. And Beck's also welcome to come on the podcast. Anybody is really, pretty much, unless you're some murdering pedophile bastard, then don't watch anywhere near it. But if you're a person that's engaged in public debate or you're just an ordinary everyday Australian with an opinion who wants to discuss it, you're more than welcome. Send me a DM. We'll have you on. So Monica's more than welcome to come on. And if she wants to try and refute any of this, but it all happened. When Beck Freedom arranged her first March for Australia rally in Melbourne. Now, if you remember that was on the steps of Parliament, and we had a bunch of the NSN guys in there speaking all this. And you could see in the build-up that the NSN were going to be there. They were all over it. And people were saying, no, don't get involved. The NSN's going to be there. This is going to be a Nazi thing, blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, all of that happened. And Monica at first said, no, she warned, I can't support this because the NSN, blah, blah, blah. And like a week later, she came back, no, I've changed my mind. We've got to do this. We've got to get behind Australia, la, 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 did all that. The march happened and we had a few incidents with the NSN guys. And then Monica came out, oh, no, well, we can't be supporting this march. Look what happened on there. And she flipped and she organised her own march. She was against it. She was for it. She was against it. She was for it. And then she held her own march. I mean, talk about flip-flopping. I've never seen anything like it. So, yeah, she might not like what I'm about to say, but Monica's a bit of a jellyfish when it comes to politics. And when you are that sort of person and you're impacting on our politics from another state in Queensland, I think that's a bit rich. And Harvey was putting her up there like she was the Joan of Arc of Australian politics. What a nonsense. I'm sorry. Here's some hard truth, guys. And I don't mean to be negative, especially against Rukshan. I think Rukshan's a good guy. I hope to get him on. He said he would. Be interesting if he will. Maybe he will now. I don't know. Maybe they'll get their nose out of joint because I'm questioning their motives. I don't know. But with a lot of what they do, most people, a lot of people, a lot worse than me, a lot of people have got harder opinions than me, you got to question whether a lot of it's a grift, whether it's about bringing attention to them, whether that I think there's certain people, once they get in the public eye, and I'll come to something different about that in a minute, it is hard to let go of that. If they're not continuously in the public eye, they will do something to get themselves back into it. They love the limelight. They love it all being on them, even if it's negative. I think certainly Monica's that way. I certainly think Arby's that way. I'm not so sure about Rukshan because he keeps in the background. And listen, that's their right. I'm not saying that's neither a positive or a negative. But if it negatively impacts on us, then it's a negative. So time will tell with these group voting tickets. I am not convinced in any way, shape or form we've just made a good decision, or our politicians have. And it's all been brought about because of two people who I wouldn't trust. I wouldn't vote for them in politics. No way they get my vote. And I think there's a whole bunch of other people that wouldn't vote for them either. Because Harvey and Monica, whether you like it or not, a lot of people, I would say the majority of people that follow you or don't follow you, but they're not followers, but they follow you on social media. And you can see by the responses you get, mate, Monica, that they think you're grifters. And if you don't know what a grifter is, look it up. Again, I don't want to hold your hand the whole way. But I think there's some validity to that. Again, Harvey and Monica are more than welcome to come here and push back as hard as they like. Anytime they want to do it. So I keep putting the invitation out. They keep knocking it back. I do start with my empty seat interviews tomorrow. I might have a special place for it. I'd like to get Harvey on. It'd be good banter. And Harvey can promote it on his if he wants to. I don't care if he does or doesn't. But I think Harvey should come on. We should have a discussion. There's a lot me and Harvey would agree on. I'll give you one example. We're both big supporters of Tommy Robinson. So we would certainly agree on that. Coffee. Yeah, I'm not too sure that's the biggest win we're ever going to have. I'll give you another person who wants to be in limelight. There's a show on TV called Traders. You should watch it. I mean, I just started watching it for a bit of, I do work at my desk and I always have the TV on in the background. I've done that for my whole life. So I can be typing away, have that on, and one show finished and Traders came on. So I didn't bother turning the channel. And I started listening to it. Then I started listening to it a bit more. And I've got to say, I'm a bit hooked on it now. And if you haven't watched it, it's all about these celebrities. I don't know why in Australia it always has to be in the celebrities. Overseas, it's about everyday people coming on. But in Australia, it's always about celebrities. When they did, what was that show Trump did? When they fire him? The Apprentice. The Apprentice in England started with just everyday people trying to get these magnificent jobs. It was a great show. But then in Australia, we made it about, and America, we made it about celebrities. I don't know why they went about, as soon as they made it about celebrities, it lost me. These people had jobs, they had money. I like the everyday person who did a great job on the celebrity that all of a sudden secured a great paying job, a high profile job. It was about someone dragging themselves up by the bootstraps. That was the whole, for me, that was the whole attraction of that show. But anyway, in Australia on Traders, it's all about the celebrities. But in this instance, it's proved pretty enlightening. You can see, I'm going to make some broad brush judgments here on generations and on people. It doesn't apply to everyone before you all get offended. But they've got a guy, you all know him, Dicko. Ian Dicko Dickinson. Dicko, appropriate name. Used to sit as a judge on The Voice, I think it was. Was it The Voice? Wasn't The Voice? No, it was Australia's Got Talent. The guy, Dicko, is a dickhead. Pure and simple. He's just a loudmouth dickhead. And this show proves it. So Dicko is trying to play Traders, which is a TV series game, real life game, like you would play Survivor. No, I don't know about you, but Survivor is one of my favorite programs. I will watch it. It just gives you all the different human traits. Now, some series are magnificent, some series not so. But the really good series are really worth watching. Just gives you an insight into the human soul a little bit and the human personality. But Dicko's trying to play it like Survivor. Now, in Survivor, you get your groups and your supporters and all that. Dicko's trying to play it that way. And he got called out last night because the old point of Traders is to try and identify the traders, because every night the traders identify someone they're going to murder. Not literally, but they're going to murder and they go out of the show. So if the faithful, the ones who could be murdered, don't identify the traders quick enough, you're going to be dead and the traders win. So this whole idea of getting a group together is pretty pointless. And all Dicko's done the last three things is encouraged people to vote as a group, and they voted out three faithful people. So the people they don't want to vote out, they voted out. The people they do want to vote out, they've kept in. And bizarrely, Dicko has got one of those traders in his group. So, and they're all making a joke out of Dicko. Dicko think, and the funny thing, that's none of that, all that's fair enough. But what is if you watch it, the arrogance from Dicko, the way he sneers down his nose at the other contestants, the way he thinks he is the world's smartest person, it reminds me so much of Piers Morgan. If you ever want to get an example of how the celebrity elite, not all celebrities, but the celebrity elite despise the everyday Australians, watch this show. It's enlightening. Dicko is a turd. I can't wait for him to get voted out. He got called out last night, and no one can. He got in a real huff and puff about it because someone dared criticise him. But he's been criticising everyone else right from the start of the show. It was great, and he got a real insight into what these elite celebrities and these elite politicians, how they feel about you and me. It's actually disgusting to watch it, because you get an understanding of they've got themselves up here and the rest of us are down here. These people don't take any attention to your concerns or my concerns. They look at us as scum. They look at us as serfs. And that came out in this show loud and clear. Dicko is just an arrogant piece of shit, and he's done nothing with his life anyway. He's got no right to be that arrogant. And how any TV show ever put him in a position to judge other people and their potential careers is beyond me. The guy's a moron, absolute moron, and it comes out loud and clear. But the other interesting part out of it, sorry, you Zoomers, Gen Z, I think what is 32? Is that Gen Z or Gen X? I'll find out. But they had a couple of twins, Lucas and something else. Josh could have been. I'll put in Gen X age range. Oh God, glasses. Gen X, 46 to 41. Gen Z age range. This is important. 14 to 29. So what's the millennials? Let's have a look at that. They're the millennials. So the millennials, my God, millennials, why are you such a bunch of sooks? Oh my God. I was watching this, it's just a show. It's a game. And they're all getting so offended. If they get any criticism comes their way, they get into tears and they get their backs up. And if someone criticizes them, well, then you're my enemy for life. And we've got one bawling because he got voted out of the game because he acted like a dickhead. So he turned everyone else against him. They voted him out. But the people he did accuse also got their backs up. And I'm like, is this the way you approach life? Someone's critical of you. Get in line. Mine goes round 5 blocks. I have critics everywhere. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. I know what I believe in. I know what I stand for. I couldn't give a rat's about your criticism. That's my point of view. And you're going to have a different point of view. Let's discuss it. I'm not going to get in tears over it. I've been kicked out of plenty of things. Sports teams, organisations. Haven't been sacked from a job yet. But, you take that on the chin, you move on. You don't end up in a huffle and start bursting out in tears. You move on with your life. You get on with the next day. We've all had bad experiences. Life goes on. Little wonder this country's in the crap it is if the millennials are going to react the way they do on this show across the board. I'm hoping there's a lot more intestinal fortitude in our millennials. Otherwise, this country is in a lot of trouble. Little wonder we don't stand up against things like men and women's sports. Little wonder we don't push back against the Indigenous industry. Little wonder, we don't push back against the welcome to country. Because if last night's demonstration of the millennials is typical of all of them, we're a bunch of little wimps. We are not the next generations of the Anzacs. Read about the mighty Anzacs. My God, there's no way the millennials could have gone through what those Anzacs did in World War I. It's bizarre beyond belief. So sometimes you watch these reality programs and they can give you a real insight, again, not only into the types of personality. So Dicko's a boomer. So I've been critical of the boomers, you millennials too. But I don't like putting people in generational things anyway. Every generation's got their share of dickheads and share of wimps and share of all that. So hopefully, I'm just hoping that's not an example of millennials. And if you're a millennial, please reinvigorate my faith in Australians who are millennials. I'm seeing too many cases, and we're going to see, I don't know what this next generation coming through of all these students protesting are, but we're going to find out how bad that generation is going to be. We'll see. We'll get a bit of an insight into it today. Anyway, enough of that. Time to get into some X. Now, there's one important subject, especially if you're a Christian, but if you're just a person with any ethics or morals that I want to get into today, bookmarks. Did I save it? Oh, I didn't. God, I'm an idiot. Home. Got to get into my home. Sorry, guys, we're getting there. I'll get to her in a minute. Now, where is it? Is there the video of it? This is, just read this. Okay, I'm a Catholic. I'm pro-life. I'm not pro-choice. So they've just signed in Massachusetts, and Australian states have this a legislation to allow abortion up to birth. So just listen to this. This is Kate Deenan, president and CEO of a Better City in Massachusetts. She gave her aborted baby the middle name Lee to honor the doctor who killed him. Now read that again. She killed a baby, then gave it a name, and the middle name was the name of the doctor who aborted that baby. How evil do you have to be? She also helped push the late-term abortion bill that the Massachusetts governor signed yesterday. At 33 weeks, she and her husband drove to Maryland So late-term abortionist Leroy Lee Carhart could inject potassium chloride straight into their son's heart and stop it. I don't know how you do that. But anyway, that's painful for the unborn baby. Why? A neurologist told her the baby had a catastrophic stroke and might end up with serious disabilities. Those claims could only be fully checked after he was born. Instead of waiting for his birth, they aborted him. She turned the abortion on a viable son into a political talking point and used it to change the law. This is beyond evil. Now that's her where the arrow's pointing. Just have a look at how giddy she gets. Remember what she's signing here for. Look at the smile on the face. She's like a little cheer girl. Look at them all. They're applauding murdering innocent kids inside the womb. Now, whether you believe in it or not believe in it, whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, let's say you're pro-choice, how is that anything to be celebrating? That's the ending of a life, of an innocent child's life, and you're celebrating it like it's a sporting event. I mean, that's evil. And that's why this meme is so good. Look at her. You got doctors who are supposed to be medical staff, who are supposed to be people that protect life, that save life. And here they are with the smiles at this governor signing this bill that will end life. And then you got Satan in the background. They're all going to have to answer for it at some stage. And here's the most galling thing that I found. We have this in Australia. Albo claims to be a Catholic, for example, but he's very pro-choice. So Catholics are demanding that the Holy Communion be denied to self-professed Catholic Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey after she signed a law allowing abortion up to birth. She's a Catholic. If you're a Catholic, you know why that should be of disgust to every single Catholic. Catholicism is all about pro-life. It's against abortion. How can you be a Catholic, go to church and receive the Holy Communion and still proclaim to be Catholic if you've just signed a bill that will lead to an increase in the murder, because that's what it is, of innocent life? I just read you a passage about what God thought about life in the womb. Let me read it to you again. This woman proclaims to be a Catholic, yet she ignores Catholic teachings. This is the God she is ignoring. I want to read this again. You created, so this is a psalm to God. You created every part of me. You put me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because you are to be feared. All you do is strange and wonderful. I know it with all my heart. When my bones were being formed, carefully put together in my mother's womb, when I was growing there in secret, you knew that I was there. You saw me before I was born. The days allotted to me had all been recorded in your book before any of them ever began. Unbelievable. So she's a Catholic, but she's ignoring that passage. If and I believe this, if God has put us in that womb, which if you believe in God and his creation, that's what you believe, and you believe that he knows your beating heart exists in that womb, which we believe, he also knows the people that end that life and the disgust he must have for those people. I mean, this person goes to church and listens to this stuff and lets you sign a bill against it. And another most appropriate part, so I hate to evangelize, but today, oh God, how I wish you would kill the wicked. How I wish violent men would leave me alone. They say wicked things about you. They speak evil things against your name. Oh Lord, how I hate those who hate you. I hate the blah, 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 blah. There was another passage there. But that other part, how I wish you would kill the wicked, how I wish the violent men would leave me alone. So that's a kid in the womb, in the Bible. It's talking about it right there. So one day God will take it. I'm sorry. I'm sounding very evangelistic. These people either need to repent, or when they hit the pearly gates, they're in all sorts of shit. So don't follow them down that road. Do not follow them down that road. It's just disgraceful. I mean, I'll give you another part here and this happens because people are dumb, right? They don't understand the science. You don't need to abort a baby at 34 weeks if you think there's issues or you don't want the baby. There is an alternative. Now listen to this one, which I did put in my bookmarks. This is a debate between men. Sometimes men are just dumb. As Natalie Beisner puts here, for the gazillionth time, there is never a medical need to conduct a late-term abortion in order to save the mother's life, because that's the big theory. That woman aborted it. No, she could have had a kid with disabilities. Oh, my God. You know, talk to anybody who's had a kid with a disability, and they consider that child a blessing, not a burden. Once a baby is viable, currently around 24 weeks, it will continue to get younger and younger. He's able to be delivered and cared for without infringing on the mother's health. If for whatever reason a pregnancy beyond 24 weeks becomes unnecessarily risky for the mother, labor can be induced or a cesarean can be done, and both baby and mother can be cared for. So you don't have to put the mother's life at risk. You can give that child a chance at life. Will the baby survive? Not always. But there's no medical necessity to go in and intentionally and actively kill when he can theoretically survive ex utero. I presume that's cesarean. Pro-abortion activists fall back on this to save the life of the mother. Things as if there is a magical third option wherein the problematic pregnancy just disappears. At 24 weeks and beyond, a near fully developed baby is coming out one way or the other, either dead or alive, either whole or in pieces. Going in and killing and dismembering a viable baby doesn't save a mother's life. And here are these gentlemen, listen to their arguments.
You say, I don't think it's happening, but we shouldn't let it happen anyway.
Well, this here says a woman's 36 weeks pregnant, develops pregnancy complications. And in those situations,
that's different. That's okay. That didn't. Okay.
This is
I mean, if you have a healthy baby.
So now idiots jump in. Despite what this woman's saying, they don't understand the debate, because at 36 weeks, they can induce that pregnancy, have a cesarean, and the baby and mother both will, the mum will live and the baby will get given a chance to live.
Yeah. But if you have a baby there, might kill you. Then
that's what a lot of these arguments are for.
So then
no, it's not. So the person applauding it, she didn't kill the baby because there was complications with the pregnancy that could affect her. She killed the baby because it could have disabilities, which would have been a burden on her perfect life. So the baby had to die. That's what the vast bulk of these terminations are for.
What the fuck are we arguing about? Jason. It's going to kill the lady, so she has to fucking get a late-term abortion to stay alive?
Jason.
It's her.
So what a moron. This is like Dicko. He doesn't know and he's just blasting out foul-mouthed sort of thing. And listen, I can be foul-mouthed too. But what a moron. He doesn't know what he's talking about and need his blind judgment. This is the problem with social media. Read that part there again. Anyway, talking of problems, this is Peggy Flanagan. Now, that's an Irish name. As you can see from just looking at her, she's from a European background. But she's dressed because she lives in Minnesota, and that's a large population of Sudanese. Just listen to how she speaks. She's in the Islamic garb. She's obviously converted, and she's obviously rejected a European background. Have a listen.
Assalamu alaikum. My name's Peggy Flanagan. I am the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota, and I'm really honored and humbled to be here with all of you today. I am incredibly clear that the Somali community is part of the fabric of the state of Minnesota. I think about my friendship with Nimco. We've been friends for almost 25 years. And when I think of being part of Minnesota and growing up here, the Somali community has always been a part of my Minnesota. So I want to just encourage the community to know that we're with you. We've got your back. I am here shopping today, and just encourage other folks to show up, support our Somali businesses, support our immigrant neighbors. And I know that things are scary right now. and just know that there are more people who are looking out for you. There are more people who are here to support you than you know. I will continue to stand with the Somali community, to be with you, and to do all I can to return the friendship and community that the Somali community has shown me. Thank you.
What about the American community? I mean, sorry. I've got no issue with you developing friendships with Sudanese communities and families and immigrants who come here. But when you sacrifice your own countries, your own citizen, your own culture, that's where I draw a line. That, to me, is just shameful. And she's only doing it for political gain. I bet you she wouldn't have a Somali family who just immigrated here live in her house. Maybe she would. I doubt it very much. Talking of morons, Patrick Gorman. Patrick Gorman is part of a political party that consistently endorses mass immigration, consistently allows mass immigration to overwhelm our country, people from other countries, other cultures that are anti-ethical to ours. But now, this is quite interesting, we've got this gentleman who was a former One Nation member. He's a Hindu, obviously. Paraminder Singh, I'd say he's India. He was a One Nation candidate, and he says gay people have a mental illness. Now, if you're from the Middle East or you're from certain cultures and religions, you're anti-gay. That's part of it. So if you don't want anti-gay attitudes in the country, don't have mass immigration from regions that are anti-gay. It's pretty simple. But here is Patrick Gorman, who's a moron. Homophobia has no place in Australia. It has no place in Perth. Well, if it has no place in Australia, why are you letting him into the bloody country in the first place? Those views from a senior One Nation West Australia member are deeply offensive. Now, see how he's quoted that. This guy's wearing the big turban. He's obviously from India, or maybe Pakistan, but I'd say India. He's from a religion that doesn't accept gay practices. But instead of linking him to that, the mass immigration, that culture, that faith, that religion, he links them to One Nation. This guy's a former One Nation member. I completely reject them. No, you don't. You facilitate it, you idiot. Your government let them into the country. I repeat, the hate and discrimination that they seek to spread. Well, does that mean do you have the same attitude to the Islamic countries, the Islamic immigrants that come in here that throw gays off buildings? You don't ever speak out against that. So again, you pick and choose. Why? Because he's One Nation. Australians are a welcoming people. We celebrate one another. No, we don't. No, you don't. Your party just attacked Pauline Hanson, who's a born and bred Aussie because of One Nation, and you've attacked her party and you've used this guy to attack her. You don't celebrate each other. You're full of shit, Patrick. The Perth electorate has been home to the Pride Parade since 1990. Well, there's a claim to fame. I have joined the march many times. There's another claim to fame. It is a celebration of the kind and welcome community we live in and build together. Well, in that Pride community, you have men, biological men, who want to go into girls' bathrooms. Now, most normal, common sense, everyday Australians reject that. In fact, a lot of people within the Pride community reject that, Patrick. You are full of shit. That is a person that sits in our federal parliament that influences cabinet decisions, that influences the way we live. People of Perth do better. I'm not going to read this out because it's a very long thing, but what I will do is I'll repost this. You can get it off my feed. Shout out to Australia Explained. Now, his hashtag there is, his hashtag is, what do you call it? Handle is at Oz, AUS Explain. Give him a follow, 35,000 followers. Brilliant post here on the census. And I got to say, I was thinking that with some of the questions, I'll leave you to read it because there's a bit to it. But it's a great post. Have a read, and it makes a bit of a mockery of the census we've just completed. That's all I've got there. Let's see what's going on in the normal thing, and then we'll call it a day. Pivoting with his grandkid and dog. How cute's that? Marine fuck stick Faruqi. I shouldn't laugh, but I am. Can I say that again? Marine fuck stick Faruqi. Since they're bragging about, oh, Joey, mate. Joey, he follows me. Another good one to follow. At Joey, 1-800, call me. Love the name. Marine. I'm going to hell. Marine fuckstick Faruqi, so appropriate. Sits there bragging about supporting women's rights, all the while benefiting greatly from an actual country where women are arguably favoured more than men. She's from a war-torn country where artillery shells were flying around her head while she was taking cover in a muddy ditch alongside the road. What was the cause of the conflict? Islam. She's from a country of cousins. Oh, Joey. Oh, God, I'm definitely going to hell. She was from the country of cousin fuckers. And arranged marriages. I'm going to get so much flack for this. Where women are second-class citizens and are raped and pedophilia is accepted. That's very true. What's the cause? Islam. As she's telling kids nationwide to protest against the only party to question the compatibility of Islam in Australia, she sits with her kafaya draped across the back of her chair in support of Islam. The red fucking Faruqi poses a significant danger and liability to the women of Australia. Great post, Joey. Sorry for the French. Look at the meme. Women have no rights. Let us vote. Equal pay. Fuck the men. Import mass Muslims to replace all the white men. Women have no rights. Oh, God, the circle. Oh, God, that's... You get me in so much trouble, Joey, but I love it. That was so good. So this is this woman we're telling you. Self-proclaimed Christian Governor Maureen Haley of Massachusetts promises to fight President Trump and make sure women can kill unborn babies up to 40 plus weeks. Haley says women need to be able to do this because of health care. How do they make that health care? You're ending a life. That's not health care. We're going to make sure that women in particular are able to make their own health care. It's not health care. That's not protecting health. It's ending health. It's not a healthcare decision. Let's have a listen to this silly bitch.
I promise that no matter what Donald Trump or Republicans in Congress or the Supreme Court does, we're going to continue to make sure that women and families have access to the health care that they need right here in Massachusetts. We're going to make sure that women in particular are able to make their own health care decisions.
When she says healthcare, just realize what that means. Healthcare here for a baby this old in the womb is an injection into the heart and filling that heart with the poison for that baby to suffer a slow death. When they remove the baby from the womb, they tear that baby limb from limb. Legs, arms, head, body, and they try and say that's healthcare. Absolutely evil.
Decisions, not the government. Now, the law that I sign is against the context of the moment that we're in and the time in this country. We know that protecting abortion access and reproductive health care has been under fire.
If you're a person that supports this sort of bullshit, this evil, vile bullshit, I really would encourage you to research Christianity, faith, read the Bible a bit, and then go to the first church you can and seek forgiveness. Honestly. I mean, you don't even need to be a Christian to see that this is a shameful... People talk about the genocide of babies in Gaza. What about the genocide of babies in the West? How many millions a year do we kill across the globe simply because babies are seen as an inconvenience? I'll give you the Muslims one thing. They have their kids for different reasons, but they have them. They don't abort them.
We saw it when the Supreme Court overturned Roe and the Dobbs decision back in 2022, the first time a court has ever taken away a right that was given. We've seen it as Donald Trump and Republicans.
They took away the right to kill a baby, but they also put in place a right to life for the unborn baby, So when they say take away rights, there's a right of that baby that's been taken away all the time. The right to life, the most crucial right you can have, has been taken away from the unborn. And we've got to be a voice. Those of us who've been privileged enough to be given life have got to be the voice for the unborn. And she's a shameful bitch. She's going straight to hell.
Congress continue to pass anti-abortion legislation.
As are those ones standing
including
behind her.
extreme abortion bans. Today, 1 in 3 women in America live in a state with an abortion ban. President Trump's new Attorney General, Todd Blanche, over the weekend said that overturning Roe v. Wade should be made, quote, permanent in
Absolutely,
every
it
state.
should.
That's what we're up against. I promise that
She's up again. She's complaining about a person trying to save these lives because she wants to kill them. That's what she's up against. Oh my God. Adolf Hitler, Stalin would have loved people like her. What else have we got? God, we're having a bit of a down day today, bro. X wins lawsuit against Australia's E-Safety Commissioner. Elon Musk X has secured a major victory in Australia's federal court. That's good news. The E-Safety Commissioner argued that X should be regulated under 2 separate online safety systems because the platform offers DMs and encrypted chat, potentially subjecting it to stricter requirements and penalties of up to $49.5 million. Justice Elizabeth Raper rejected that argument, ruling that X cannot be classified as both a social media service and a relevant electronic service. A major win for X against regulatory overreach. Well, that's great news. Hope that keeps going. We've got to get rid of that E-Safety Commission. There's this guy. So this is a male guy that the AFL just cleared to play women's football in Adelaide. And that's a man. Sorry, that's a man. He can say, oh, well, my gender's a she, her, or whatever. I don't care. That's a man. And 3 clubs in Adelaide have complained that their girls have to play against him. The AFL's come down and said they find no reason that this man can't play in women's sports. Now, I think he's a dickhead, obviously. But who's this guy standing next to him? Is that a coach? Is that someone? I think it's a coach because he's wearing a polo with the same clubs as that. So he's like happy at playing a man in his female team. He is in effect cheating. I mean, seriously, we got some serious issues in this country, in this society. Here we go. This is the doctors and engineers that come into the country, mass immigration. This is what we get.
Sir, do you have anything to say about the allegations against your son?
9 News can exclusively reveal Victoria Police have made a significant series of arrests targeting those luring innocent victims on dating apps. So 5 teenagers aged between 16 and 18 years old have been arrested. They were basically luring innocent men on these dating apps. And then when they meet up with them, they either sexually assault them or rob them at knife point. So really serious crimes, really serious allegations. This follows 11 different incidents across the greater Dandenong region. I will have more details tonight on 9 News at 6 and on 9 Now.
Sound lovely. Australia's version of the Pakistani rape gangs. Muslim men in Dandenong, a Muslim enclave, are sexually assaulting men. It's interesting. And robbing them after they lure them online. Disgraceful. But anyway, that is what we've got. Oh. It is a dark day when the womb becomes the scariest place for a human to exist. Same week, Democrats in Massachusetts legalized abortions up to birth. An ultrasound has gone viral. An unborn baby smiles after hearing her father's voice. Now, that's beautiful, and yet people want to stop that. Let's have a look.
Good morning. Happy Saturday.
Look at that.
You hungry?
This too. See that? Amazing. That's the baby formed in the womb. How beautiful is that?
Oh my gosh, he's so smart.
Smile. Little smile.
That's what they're killing. They're killing life. I mean, I don't get it. Two Worlds Call just sent this formal letter to AFL CEO Andrew Dillon. Good on you. Sammy. I was going back to call you Scott. Demanding XX chromosomes only for all female athletes, or I'll enter a full team of biological males identifying as women, calling two balls collide. So he's mimicking what's going on in America. AFL's current policy is unfair, unsafe, and morally bankrupt. Too true, Sam. Time actual men stood up for women. Couldn't agree more. That's what's Maureen. Australian Greens Senator Maureen tells kids to skip school on protest. What a bitch. Let's see what the bitch has got to say. What did Tommy call it? Marine fuckwit Faraki.
Come in. Does that sound okay?
You're telling me that the far right is on the rise? That parties like Pauline Hanson's One Nation want to roll back women's rights, workers' rights, environmental protections? That you're sick of One Nation's racist, sexist, anti-worker and divisive politics and want to join thousands of students on Thursday, 13th August in a protest around the country? And you want my permission? Of course. Hope you've made a big sign. Have fun.
One, politicians should stop doing these memes. Number two, a federal politician encouraging kids not to go to school, that should be an offence. She should face repercussions for that. But two, that is really pathetic. What have we got? Then tell me the one. Sit down with Australians. Yeah, don't know that. Andrew Bragg is announcing immigration figures setting 180,000 policy. Is Andrew Bragg in charge or Angus Taylor? Andrew Bragg is a problem. The Liberal Party needs to get in front of this. Let's have a listen.
I know you've watched, Dan, very closely all the numbers coming in from the ABS about migration. We've got a whole set of targets out there. Today we got one in part from the Coalition, from the housing shadow Andrew Bragg, announcing net migration targets of around 180,000 people per year on average. Have a listen.
The shortfall between number of houses built and the number of people coming in is 350 to 400,000, about that. And so you need to have a norm somewhere around 180,000 to bridge that gap over the forward estimates period. Like, that's just the range.
Okay, so the NOM slides in at that number. It's 45,000 less than Labor in the short-term forecast. And let's not forget they've never met any of their forecasts. And it's 120,000 below what we saw in the actuals last year. Dan, bit of meat on the bones here finally from the Coalition. What do you make of it?
Still too
that
high.
number's way too high. 180,000 is way too high. We've had
Absolutely.
1.5 million over the last few years. This is not good. And I don't know why Andrew Bragg is announcing policy that doesn't have approval. I mean, I interpreted this as a direct threat, a direct challenge to Angus Taylor's leadership authority. Really, I think this is the first salvo in the next leadership spill against Angus Taylor. Why hasn't Angus Taylor clarified this? Why hasn't he slapped this down? Why isn't Andrew Bragg being sent to the back bench for this? I mean, this is insane. Who's running the party? Is Angus Taylor in charge or Andrew Bragg? I mean, Andrew Bragg himself said that this is not party policy and that no one else supports the number. So why is he putting a number out? Now, I get that he's housing shadow, and yes, there's a nexus between housing and migration, and what Andrew Bragg said about housing was spot on, about cutting the red tape, about making sure we don't gold plate and so forth. But I don't understand why these numbers are being put out there if they're not official government, not official Liberal Party policy. It seems bizarre to me. So really, I think that Angus Taylor needs to get in control of this, because if they're going to the next election with 180,000 and with a policy of multiculturalism, I can tell you what, people are going to be taking off their blue shirts and putting orange shirts on pretty soon.
Very true.
Those numbers aren't going to cut it. We're not in the 1990s anymore. We're not living in the Howard era. We need a dramatic, urgent corrective action Immigration is a national emergency. It's not just another policy. So I just think the Liberal Party needs to get in front of this, otherwise it's going to get away from them.
Well, I've got Angus Taylor coming up. I'll ask him pretty much all of those questions you've just put out there right now.
Hope Peter does. Hope she asks all those questions, because that's ridiculous. If the Liberals want to be wiped out as a political force, put in a leader who supports multiculturalism and maintaining immigration levels as they are now. That is a recipe for political suicide on the right. I hope they do, because then we'll get a majority one nation government and we can really address the problem. It's been a pretty serious day, so I want to try and find something we can have a bit of fun with. I hope I can find it. This is very funny if I can find it. I might be in the wrong place. Tell you where I could find it. Sometimes surfing the old X thing can be a bit of fun in itself. I think it was a reply. Let's see if I got any replies. Hope I can find this, because this will make you laugh. Certainly made me laugh. There's my boy. There's Toes Happy's boy. Both of them sitting in their bed. That's that. How could you abort something like that? What a beautiful baby. That's actually abortion there in real time on a scan. That's how it gets sucked out of the womb. And yet people call that healthcare. Here we go. Here's something we can have a bit of fun with. Now, if you laugh at this, you're going straight to hell. I'm already on the way. But this is a very funny 1 minute.
God damn! God damn it!
Oh, God.
Oh, my God!
Damn it!
Mama!
Oh, shit! Oh, that's what it hurt!
Hair, you okay?
That's what it was. Ouch!
Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday.
And she takes
Right now,
kids. It's a great way to finish. I'm going to hell. If you're laughing, you're going to hell too. So you got to have a laugh. Life's got to be funny sometimes. So from me and my boy, there he is. He's come up. He said, "Time to get out of here, Dad." He hasn't had his brekkie yet. I'm pretty keen for it, I'm sure. So from me and my sidekick, JJ, God bless you. God bless your kids. God bless your grandkids. God bless your pets. God bless that flag. Let's get it back. If you can, and obviously you can, share this podcast. Support us through the buy a coffee thing in the comments. And if you can buy us a coffee, we would really appreciate it and support what we're doing. So I will see you tomorrow, as long as the NBN stays up, which I'm hopeful it will. I'm pretty sure it will. Yesterday, they usually have these things to do some sort of work. I don't know. But yesterday we can get on. But we'll be back tonight, 8 o'clock for the main podcast, and also tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. So, let's keep talking. Let's keep discussing. Let's keep trying to move the political dial in the right direction and get our country back. See you, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.